Hey everyone, welcome to Downloadable Podcast. This is going to be episode 142. This week, we're going to be talking about questions to ask old gamers. Um, and then technically, this could be anybody that's been gaming for the last 30 years at least, right? Maybe a little
Sure.
bit, maybe 30, 25, 35, longer.
Quick, kind of scooting it up to the modern puppies. This is for us old folks.
Yeah. Let's
Um,
say let's say 40 and up.
right.
Yeah, 40 and up. Yeah.
So this week, I got Adrian with me. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, gonna have to be back.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And my dad's here as well.
Hey, everybody. And I'm glad it's been a while since I had Adrian on one of the shows with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have him more often, and we'll hopefully
Moron.
more not a moron.
Hopefully we'll have this moron more often.
But Kevin wants to come back too, so he's going to look at trying
Yeah.
to clear up his schedule because he misses the creative outlet as far as having open discussions about whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
tonight's episode is Adrian's idea. He had some questions that he sent me because we were trying to think of what we wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a topic out. I wanted to get an episode out, but I asked Adrian, "Hey man, just come up with some stuff you want to discuss, and we can talk about it." And they all seem to be centered around older people gaming. And sadly, we're in our 40s, or my dad, where he's at. I don't want to make him feel old.
Yeah.
Um,
We're
but
gonna talk. We're gonna talk about when controllers were made of stone, and the connectors were strings.
Yeah, and you had to use the blood of the fallen animal that you happen to feed your family with to lubricate the grinding stone for the arcade.
That's hilarious.
Um, but yeah, so I guess Adrian, do you want to pose the questions, the first one, and we just go into it like that, or do you want me to do it?
Oh, yeah, I just have them on my phone after I texted them to you.
Yeah,
I didn't well, let me see. Hold on. I have my iPad here.
I
Let's
can
see.
read them off. I've got them up.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
yeah.
first one,
I got them up.
the first topic was, are video games entertainment or are they hobby?
Yeah. Okay, I remember that. I remember that.
So it really kind of depends on the times because back in the day it was a child's toy. That's what it was viewed as. Um,
Except children couldn't afford them. Their
Yeah.
parents would buy them for themselves, and the
Yeah.
kids would take it over. Oh,
Yeah.
mine.
mhm.
Well, I was curious what you guys would consider. I think entertainment is pretty, what the definition of entertainment is pretty well now, but I was curious what you guys would consider a hobby, first off.
I'll let you go
Yeah.
first, son, and then I'll follow up.
Like what would you consider to be the definition of a hobby? That's I think that's more clear.
Something that you're passionate, creative, inspired by, something that you do on a regular basis that brings you some kind of joy.
Yeah.
Um, it's not something that you do to make money, but you could.
Okay.
And I would say maybe uh, because there's collecting involved with video gaming.
Yeah.
Um, there's also definitely a collective of conversation that happens with friends or other people because of it. So it definitely like because people feel like watching sports is a hobby, but
Sure.
spectating, I don't know if that's necessarily a hobby versus like if you were to go out there and play basketball in the week with your
Yeah.
friends.
But
Yeah.
it can lead into a hobby. Say you are a sports spectator, you go around and follow a team, and every time you stop somewhere, you collect a t-shirt or something from that event.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
becomes a hobby. Whereas the
Yes.
spectation, I mean, the being there to watch the event is not. That's entertainment.
Hmm.
But the two can meld together. Uh, you know, just like when you're younger or when you buy toys as a kid, you don't see yourself as that's my hobby. You
Yeah.
buy what you like, you play with them, and as you get older, you realize there's an intrinsic value to them, and you start collecting and preserving them. And that's, I think, one of the keys into a hobby, because you can have a hobby where you build models
Yep.
and then you
Yeah.
showcase them. You can have a hobby like when I was a kid, stamp collecting. Um, you did that just for as a competition, just like coin collecting and pog collecting and anything else that a kid could collect. You did it to get all of them. You know,
Got to
the
catch them
saying,
all.
got to catch
Yeah.
them all.
Yeah.
But like we used to have at the gas stations, you would get for everything you purchased, gas or whatever, you got stamps.
Yeah.
And you would fill up these stamp books. And once you had enough, you could order something from a catalog. And I ordered an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
You could do anything. So, but I would consider that my hobby. I did everything I could to make money to get those stamps so I could get what I wanted. Um, so I
So
think there's a bridging that goes on from other events that then transition to a hobby.
yeah, maybe it's something like I guess something recreational that you do that's for passion or um just
Or
for
just
fun.
just for fun, just to get
Yeah.
away from something. When I build a model, I'm in my own world. It's a way for me to forget about my troubles, whatever's going on, even sometimes the pain in my hands. You forget as you're building something. Now you're going to pay for it later, especially if you're doing something detailed.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just that way of getting away from the world for a little bit for yourself.
Yeah. So what about you, Adrian? What do you think?
Yeah. This was one. Um, it was definitely something that I struggled with because I agree with you guys when you say um like with the model example. I feel like yeah, that's definitely a hobby. You're creating something, you're working on a particular skill that you're refining over time and things like that. And I do tend to lean towards that's more what I consider what I consider a hobby is stuff like that where you're doing a thing and you have something tangible to show people for that thing or more interactivity. But that's where the line gets blurred if I'm talking about video games because I posed the question because I do have a hard time considering video games a hobby, and maybe it leans more on entertainment. But then when I think about the interactivity of it, that kind of leans it more towards a hobby. And versus like if I say a movie, watching a movie, that's to me that's pure entertainment. But some people might consider themselves a what would you call it, like a
Connoisseur.
Film?
movie lover or
Yeah.
and things like that. And so, they dive deep into the directors and the actors and the history of how a movie is created, and then maybe that leans more over to a hobby instead of just having the movie wash over you and then watch another movie, or just have a TV show wash over you and you watch another TV show. Maybe that's more entertainment. But yeah, I do think like if I play a bunch of Street Fighter, like it there is skill to playing Street Fighter, but I can't demonstrate that to anybody else. Versus like with the example Floyd gave, like with going watching basketball versus going and playing a game of basketball. Like you can, you're getting healthier, you're getting some activity in and things
Hmm.
like that, and maybe that crosses it over to being more of a hobby when you actually go play basketball versus watching somebody play it. But yeah, I was struggling with that for a long time because somebody asked me, well, like, what are your hobbies? I would hesitate to say video games.
Hmm.
Sometimes I would be like, well, I learned how to code, or recently, and I do that as a hobby and make little applications and things like that. Maybe I write, some comic book stories or something that I had in mind. That's more of a hobby. And gardening, lawn doing things with the lawn. That's more of a hobby that I enjoy. But uh, you know, the interactivity is what throws it off for the video game bit of it.
So
So I would oh, go ahead, Dan.
do you feel that a hobby can be something that you mature into that might have started out as something else?
Yeah,
No, I've
I do
read
agree.
comics as a kid. I never would have thought of it as a hobby. until I started keeping them. And then
Yeah.
people would go, "Oh, you're a comic collector." And I'm like, "Well, no, I'm just keeping what I like." And then
Yeah.
I kind of grew into finding out about that. This is that those are what collectors do, you know.
Yeah.
So then it transitioned from first something of personal enjoyment to something you could share after you finish the product, you know, or
Yeah.
something you could show. Um,
Yeah.
because I used to do art all the time. In all my spare time, I wanted to draw, and I would have never considered that a hobby.
Yeah.
It was just I knew that if I practiced the skill and got better at it,
Get better at
my
it.
artwork would be better.
Yes.
Hmm.
I
Well,
would definitely consider that to be a hobby, like the artwork and drawing.
yeah, anything
Yeah.
creative. And the one thing I was gonna say is like because like with film, you're kind of like a cinephile or an
Yeah.
aficionado of
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like you collect that information. And like you were talking about, like learning the directors, the actors. And that's something I do because I grew up in a home that we love film. I mean, we loved everything, but it was like film was one of the things that really brought us together. It was one of the things that like any of my friends can come over and they could instantly bond to because everybody watched movies, they watched
Yeah.
television. But like for video games, it's it's I think something that you can share with somebody else. Um, because like with your example for Street Fighter, we play Street Fighter on occasion. We play Tekken on occasion. We do these things. Like you go to Evo and you participate in these tournaments. There's some monetary value that you can get by winning tournaments. And I used to
Yeah.
do that a lot. Um, and it was fun. So it was a hobby versus
Yeah.
like, I think it's one of those things where it kind of boils down to you think about there was that period of time when mobile gaming was coming out and like the Wii was out there, but then you
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
like the PS3 and the 360, and it's like, well, everybody's a gamer, but are you a casual gamer
Yeah.
or where
Yeah.
do you kind of rank in this thing? And sometimes it's one of those things where we try to define ourselves by what we do. So therefore, like I've always stated that I'm a gamer. I game.
Yeah.
I play probably 40% of my life at a given time just playing games, if not more. I'm just saying
Yeah.
because now I have more responsibilities. I work, I have to take care of my family, do stuff around the house.
Yeah.
And the because it's funny because like there are guys that are like, "Oh, I'm a retro gamer." Why do you
Yeah.
have to like narrow yourself down to this one niche when you could be just a gamer
Because
playing games, enjoy
it's all about recognition. I mean,
yeah, logistics
life
and
is nothing unless you're being recognized for
right.
something, you know?
Um,
Um,
Yeah. Well,
you
yeah,
know,
I do. I feel like people want to separate themselves off in another special category. Oh, I am a retro um gamer. And I'm saying, all right, that's groovy, man. Um, let's get on
versus
this Call
like
of Duty.
right. Versus like if it was hey, we're both in IT. My dad worked in IT, but like we
Yeah.
specialized. Like my dad was working in like system administration with servers and things. You're working in
Yeah.
networking. I'm doing the end user side of things with some other I'm basically doing all the CompTIA stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So uh
okay,
but it's like
let me say something because I got something funny. It's funny how when I was young, you were either like a bowling expert, you were like you'd go to shoot darts,
Yeah.
or you'd go shoot pool, you know? And we called ourselves gamers, but it was a total different type of game.
Yeah.
Um, and how we went from being at home playing against ourselves to moving to arcades where we started showing off our skill against other combatants
yes.
in a game. And then
Yeah.
they would be elevated to some kind of godhood when you beat this game that nobody had ever done.
Yeah.
And I knew that we were in trouble. Mankind was in trouble when people started making sports out of video games and making a
Yeah.
living at it and making a, you know, their living. What do you do for a living? Oh, I play professional games, you know,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
part of a team. What?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um
That's hilarious.
but yeah, I mean I video games is one of those mediums that kind of transcends. multiple styles of I mean, different
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
right? Because it's not just entertainment. Because yeah, I can play a game for whatever reason and I get the entertainment factor, but I'm also actually I mean engaged with it. It's kind of like
yeah. The
listening to something,
interactivity. Yeah,
right? And like reading a book, or you could take reading books even further with like choose your own adventures,
yeah.
which had like, oh, I can choose how my characters are going to progress. Oh, I died on this page. Damn it, I have to go back and start over again.
Hmm.
But that gamified reading, um, and
I
it's
gotta,
just
I'll be right back. I gotta let the dog out.
yeah, yeah, no worries, Dad. So it's interesting, like how I've always felt like, film and television, books and gaming kind of like all in the same factors, but like one you get a little bit more engagement in than the other two, but you get entertainment value out of it, and they could be a hobby because you collect it,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
build up this knowledge of this stuff, and then you can pass that knowledge off to the next generation or people you meet, which is a gateway into friendship. But
No, and I agree with you 100%. Like the interactivity, even something like reading a book. Um, you're engaging a lot of things mentally when you read a lot, and you're expanding your vocabulary, things like that.
hmm
And I feel like that goes towards some kind of tangible benefit or some kind of tangible result. And when that's usually what I think about when I think about a hobby. Like at the end of it, at, after I'm done with this hobby, I have some kind of tangible result, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
And even with the interactivity of a video game, sometimes I don't think that I have like some kind of tangible result out of that at the end of it, because I can, like you said, we get together, we play a game of Tekken, play a game of Halo, and things like that. It is fun. It is 100% entertaining.
hmm
But once we put the controllers down, outside of a good time with friends and building those bonds, and maybe that's it. Maybe your example is like building the bonds is what could make it a hobby. Relationships, getting together
hmm
with people. If you're playing a multiplayer game, catching up with friends, that could sway it over to a hobby. And then because I definitely would encourage people to not play solo as often if you can. Like I think we talked about this a few times on the podcast, the idea of people did used to go bowling and go play darts and meet up at the pub or whatever, and especially men, and get together and interact with each other in person.
hmm
And even I would prefer if the LAN parties would come back and you could go and play. Even it's not really a LAN party, you're going to have to connect over the internet anyway, but at least you're in the same room if
Yeah.
you're going to play some Halo or something like that. And that's the next best thing. Playing online with somebody and at least having a conversation with them, and maybe that kind of tips it over more to being a hobby. But I wouldn't if somebody said to me my hobby is video games, I wouldn't, no, shoot them down, no, you're crazy, that's not a
Right.
hobby. I definitely wouldn't do that.
Oh, but there
I
were
just for me, I would go back and forth.
there were people who would, they would look
Yes,
at
yeah,
you, especially in a
yeah,
professional environment. You're all talking, and then, you might be talking to a friend who plays like you do, and
yeah,
then you see the room looking at you like, "How old are you?"
yeah,
There was
yeah,
some astigmatism
Yeah, like
for,
20 years ago, yeah, probably would be more in line. But now in this day and age, it's a little understanding that people still do this stuff,
yeah,
and it's more
yeah.
accepted.
I grew up when we were geeks and we were ostracized,
I was
and
nerds,
now
yeah.
and now everybody's a geek. And I'm
yeah,
still ostracized because I'm like, I was there before you.
yeah.
Um,
That's it. We're geek
uh,
classic.
Yeah,
These guys are
right.
these guys are neo geeks. It's geek
yep,
classic.
kind of like Coke
Mm.
Classic.
Yeah, Coke classic,
Yeah.
the original flavors, man.
hmm
I
Because
kind of
I
have
I
a
agree with that.
I kind of have a question that kind of offshoots from this.
Hmm.
When does a hobby become a distraction from life?
That's a good question. you gonna go first, Floyd, or you
No,
want me to?
No, I'm curious. I just want to hear what
Okay,
you guys have to
okay,
say.
all right, okay. I realize I'm making a mistake here. I'm saying
there's two
Floyd.
Floyd. There's two Floyds
And
here.
yeah, that's it. So yeah, I think it becomes a problem. Um, and I think that actually goes into another question that was on it when it when it becomes too much escapism, when you're kind of running from a problem or
Hmm.
something that you should be doing, and you're running to this hobby. I think that's when it becomes a problem instead of just like you were saying before, a break from the day, you know, a temporary reprieve from whatever's going on, and instead it's just, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to run to this thing every single time, and when you start neglecting your family and your responsibility, your job, um, career success and things like that. I think that's when it becomes a problem. And I had that issue when World of Warcraft came out, and I was like kind of sleeping on people's couches and not trying to figure out how to get my own place. And I just leapt into World of Warcraft and kind of avoided all that. And a friend of mine had to talk to me and say, "Hey, man, you need to you need to get this together. You can't just sit around, sleep on my couch, and play Warcraft all the time. You got to get." And that's what I needed. I needed
Hmm.
somebody to say, "Hey, this is going beyond you just enjoying this." Because he played MMOs too. He introduced me to MMOs. He played like City of Heroes, and I jumped on World of Warcraft, and he didn't want to play that. He was like, City of Heroes is the best. He didn't get on the World of Warcraft, but he had to tell me, "Hey, man, you gotta attack this thing head on and get yourself a place and things like that, and you need that sometimes." But yeah, that's when I think kind of crosses over.
Yeah, I think it's like a crutch. When
Yeah,
you're trying to hide from, and you can do this with anything, music, you
Yeah.
yeah,
can do it
yes,
from with
yes,
anything. And it becomes a distraction from the real world so that you can hide in it.
yeah,
And you have to set boundaries, you know, like being a father, single father. When I came home, and there were games I wanted to do, there was something I wanted to watch. Priorities came first, dinner, making sure the house was clean, people got baths and ready, and then we could, after all that, and then we could sit down and play it. I
yeah.
think only two games ever broke that rule for me, and one was Resident Evil.
Resident
Because
Evil.
when I got, oh man, I would dream about that all the day, every day at work,
Yeah,
and be like, I can't wait to get home. And my
yeah,
kid, I'd walk in the door, and my kid's like, nope, shut up.
yeah.
I got to
Gotta
get to
get to
this
Resident Evil.
game, you
Yeah,
know. But it was few and far between. And I think the how this fit in was you had put in a topic, should gaming be used as therapy or escapism, is the
yeah,
one you were talking about. And I think
yeah,
that's where this all fits in.
yeah,
And so something I'd add with that is, I mean, I completely agree. It's when the game takes over and becomes like an addiction.
yeah,
You forget to brush your teeth. You don't take care of yourself. You maybe you're falling asleep at work because you stayed up all night. I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do that makes the escapism more of a hindrance thing, and it hurts you in
yeah,
the long run than anything else. But
yeah,
it's all about that life balance, and I think some of that stuff is things that we as parents should be able to teach our children to understand. And sometimes it's one of those things too that we need to experience to have it understand in our brain that, hey, this is going on. Because sometimes you can be told to their blue in their face that I bet you need to do this, but if they
yeah,
don't have the want or will to change, um, they never will.
That's where
yeah.
that breaker box in the garage comes in. When the
Right?
house when the house goes
Yeah.
dark, that game's up.
Right, right. When the
That's
power
it.
goes out, you didn't because you didn't pay the bill.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, turn that off.
right. But I mean, I see it with people, and it's I don't know, it's one of those things. It's like anything could be a hobby.
Yeah,
Collecting cars,
Collecting cars. I mean,
women. I mean, anything could be a thing. Guys, depending if it's a girl, or whatever. Um,
I never got into that collecting women. It sounds like
The-
a fun hobby.
Right,
yeah,
right.
sounds
Uh,
illegal, man. You
Yeah,
gotta
right,
cut the
that's
right. It does
podcast.
sound like
Yeah,
in today's
in this
day and age,
Let's-
world.
it is. Yeah, that's
In this
wrong.
and
world.
cut the podcast and we throw this one in the trash.
I had a
Um,
friend in high school dated four girls from the same school that we went to, and he did it for like months
That's
until
crazy.
one of them come around the corner and he was smooching with the other one.
Yeah,
And I was like, yeah, I
see,
was wondering how long that was gonna last.
yeah,
he tried
yeah.
to
That's
gamify the
hilarious.
situation and got himself in trouble.
Yeah, that's
Um,
hilarious.
but I think that like with all this, there are things in life that kind of can be unsatisfying. So people look for an
Yeah,
escapism. Sometimes it's because they have a bad home life. Maybe mom and dad are fighting all the time. Uh, Maybe they can't get a girlfriend or boyfriend, and so they're escaping. Sometimes that's where the whole MMO thing will come in.
yeah. Sometimes people are just looking for a win. Like it's
Yes.
like you just can't get a win in real life. And so if you can log on to the game and get a kill streak in Call of Duty, you're like at least this feels good. Like I can feel powerful. I can feel in control in the game. And it like you said, it's addictive, man. It can be addictive to just go to that for for all of your accomplishments instead of trying to appreciate the small accomplishments in everyday life.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, off kind of off topic, but not. We now have these AI people, beings that live in
Aughts and
bots and all this stuff. And we're seeing the same problems that have occurred throughout history now occurring with those where people get involved in something and then they disconnect from the real world and they don't
Yeah.
understand the difference between virtual reality and reality. And they would
mm,
prefer to live in that VR world than
Yeah.
to deal with other people or to get out of their own homes.
right.
And
You see
we've
that
yet
with a lot with taku culture in Japan, with like
Yeah.
how all the things of their pop culture, the things that they love, that's like they're so invested in it that they can't even fathom trying to talk to another person.
another person.
Yes,
See, that's scary.
Yeah.
it is.
Um, I always think back to what's that movie that I love, Surrogates, the one with Bruce
Bruce
Willis.
Willis.
Yeah. Are we headed there? Or again, do androids dream of electric sheep or Blade Runner?
Yeah.
Um, those people were constantly plugged in. They couldn't even operate without taking a happy pill in the morning and then
Yeah.
something to sedate them in the
Hmm.
evening. But they never left their beds. They were jacked in the entire time.
Yeah.
Um, that's a scary, scary
Right.
thought.
And yeah, and it's on the way.
Yeah,
And
it sure is.
it's not, I don't think it's going to be good for society as a whole. If people decide, and companies will sell it to them,
Hmm.
and not, they don't care about how it'll affect society as a whole. They'll sell it to them. They'll sell them their own little personal world that they can go and escape to, and then you get out and once you log off, you go do a menial job, for pennies
Just
on the dollar, just enough for your virtual thing, just to get back
Yeah.
in your virtual thing, and it's not a good future. Unfortunately, I just don't, maybe none of us here will be around for I guess the real main event when it really happens. I don't see it happening in my lifetime for sure, but the whole complete VR Matrix thing where you
Ready Player
just
One.
Ready Player One, where you're just
Yeah.
enveloped in it. But I have a one of those Meta Quest headsets, and some of that stuff, you can be in that for a while, and after a while your mind just kind of accepts it, even if it's not photorealistic graphics sitting in front of you. Your mind kind of accepts that in this reality, these are objects in front of you, and we're only a couple of more revisions away from it
Well,
being photorealistic.
they actually played with the idea of broadcasting images into the eyes,
Yeah.
where you're not still with a headset, you're still looking at a screen.
Yeah.
Um, this would be where it's broadcast into the eye and then immediately absorbed by the brain,
Yeah.
and that becomes the world. And then there were some problems with it, headaches and things like that. So it kind of got pushed back, but it's still there in the background. It's still being
Yeah.
ran, military using it and other things to perfect it. And
Yeah.
everything comes from the military. Everything scientific comes from development for military, DARPA, and all these other
Yeah.
organizations. And then once it becomes, they move on to the next thing, and then it's moved out to the public. That's where the
Yeah.
internet came from.
Yeah.
Um, so I can see that there's probably it's not that far away. I can remember when people were saying, "Oh, solar's 10 and 20 years away," and it
Yeah. Yeah.
happened in less than
Hmm.
10.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and to think about it this way, we have Elon Musk trying to push the whole Neuralink still. So
not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
that's like
You
I
won't
don't want
even
that either. I mean,
gonna be putting a microchip in my head, but somebody will volunteer for it for sure.
right?
No, ask your friends. I did this a while back. I asked a bunch of my friends when we were talking, "Would you do that?" And overwhelmingly, they said yes. And I
Mm.
said, why? Because if you can be jacked into this, they
Yeah.
can do anything they want to your brain while you're being stimulated or motivated
Yeah.
Hmm.
somewhere else. I want my brain to be me. As messed up as it is, it's mine. And I
Yeah.
don't want
That's it.
somebody sitting in a living room just reprogramming what my thoughts are.
Yeah.
Manchurian Candidate, right? Where your brain, your consciousness is on a paradise on Mars, and then
Yeah.
your brain's going and taking out somebody, and you wouldn't
That's
even
it.
know it. You
No,
wouldn't
they
even
just
know it.
they just put Call of Duty in front of you, and you don't even know you're gunning down real people.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
You
Quaid.
think you think you're in a game of Quake or Doom, and you're actually gunning down real people.
Hmm.
Can you imagine somebody who actually does that and then they're programmed to think that everybody's a zombie and it's
Yeah.
a zombie apocalypse?
Apocalypse.
They would be out thinking they were saving the world, and the rest of the world would see them as a maniac
Killer,
with a
yeah.
gun. Yep.
Hmm. And I mean, you
Easy
think about
peasy.
it, and in they have the perfect alibi, right? Think about it, right? They come out, they're like, "Oh man, I saw these things." Oh, he's just crazy.
Yeah.
He could say the 100% of what was going on in his head, but no one would believe him.
Well,
Nobody
even
would
if he
believe.
was part of something, a police officer cap him in the middle of it, and
Yeah,
there'd be
that's
no
it.
questions asked.
You're
No questions
correct.
asked.
Hmm.
No questions asked.
So let's get into
You want to do the next one?
yeah, let's get into the next one. We're getting a little morbid here, which we we can tend to
That's
do that.
nice.
Um,
Yeah.
So let's get into something fun. Hey, are video games a luxury?
Ah. Yeah.
it, considering you can get games for 99 cents, I don't think so. Not,
Okay.
but if you're like you're going for the higher end, yeah, it's getting expensive. If you're going
Yeah.
for like the new Resident Evil, that's $70 or $80,
70
and
bones. Yeah.
like we have a friend that is doing emulation, and he's just like I can't afford modern gaming. I mean, you could, you wait for sales. You
Yeah.
try to save money. You may go on like different marketplaces, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, whatever.
Yeah.
And you could probably get a console for pretty cheap. And then, you just wait for sales, wait for Black Friday.
Yeah.
Even if that, you buy a good computer and then wait till Steam sales that happen quarterly a year, and then you can just go like, all right, I'm getting like games for $5, instead of $60.
Yeah.
So are those digital?
Yeah, they're digital.
And do you own those games, or are you just renting them for $5 until
No,
they
it's
tell
for
you no
well
more?
for Steam. Steam's been really good about anything that you purchase, you have entirely until that platform goes down, and there's no chance that Gabe Newell's gonna go and say, "Hey, I'm done with this, and we're gonna close down Steam."
Close it
So,
down.
but as far as like Sony, it could happen. Nintendo, it
Yeah.
could happen. These actual game companies, it could.
Yeah.
For
I
Where's
would say even with Steam that it's a small chance, but
it's a
it's still
chance. It's a
more of a
chance.
chance than if you owned the disc in
Physical.
your house. But even if that's the case, your house burns down or something, maybe you lose it that way. But uh,
Save the games. What about our important papers and the cash and the gold and the other? No, get my
yeah,
games.
keep the games, get the
Well,
games.
that's why you buy a scanner, you scan all that
Yeah,
stuff, and you have a hard drive that you
yeah,
carry with
exactly.
you everywhere. So it has all your important documents on it. And as long
Hmm.
as you can get to a computer,
Yeah,
you can print
forget
it
the
out
birth
again.
certificate. Get Ninja Gaiden Black.
Um, but the sad thing is like I know that everybody's complaining, and this is a total different thing, not related to the topic, but people are complaining about like GameCube cards and like all these like things going on with Nintendo, but it's like PC has been digital for a long time.
It's been, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
And
that that's thanks to Microsoft
if
mostly.
you own an Xbox and a PlayStation, most of those games only have like a portion of that game that require a download. You can't
yeah,
even play the full
since
game.
2013. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like, oh, Nintendo, you're our last hope. It's like it's a video game company. And they're
yeah,
from a country that has very small real estate. So
yeah,
having to decrease their physical footprint,
Yeah,
and
digital imprint. Yeah.
they're trying to be a little bit more understanding of the environment, things like that.
yeah,
But for us, it's like for people like they just complain. It's like, oh my God, it's we're losing our physical media. It can be archived. You may have to do it yourself, but it's like we're
yeah,
already well
But
past that point.
but remember, we've lost thousands upon thousands of movies that are no longer available
True. Yes.
because they were supposed to be being archived by the government and all these other, and they just disappeared, and you
Hmm.
can't find them anymore.
yeah,
Yes.
And even what is the government library of Congress, where they keep all these classic movies and books and records and recordings,
yeah,
even
Yeah.
they are clearing out some of their inventory. You're like, no, what are you doing? We need to find a way to keep this stuff for posterity, or it gets lost, information gets lost. It's just like the internet now. You cannot go and do a search for something just from 10 years ago because it's gone. Because there's
yeah,
not enough space for it. So, and because of the programs are designed to only look for the current stuff, it's just
Hmm.
being lost.
Well,
Um,
and everything's being dumped into the AI development right now. So all
yeah. Speed
hard
stuff up.
drives, graphics cards, all that stuff is being dumped into that. And that's taking away from having storage for these things that we need to archive.
archive, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's going to make it harder for just anyone in general because the cost of going up for things,
yeah,
because of that. I mean, we're seeing it affect companies. We're trying to stockpile enough laptops to last us for this AI apocalypse that's happening, that
yeah,
for lack of a better term, because companies feel that this is the way to go, and it's like I don't know if it is. I mean, but that's a whole other podcast topic. We started talking about that before the episode about AI.
yeah, yeah.
So
Uh,
to kind of get us back on track, is it a luxury when you buy a game that is incomplete, but you paid $80 for it and you got to wait for them to put out a DLC to get the
Yeah,
actual full product? Or are you just being milked?
you're just being milked. That's not a
yeah,
luxury.
or
That's
just being milked on that one.
So
um
is it a luxury still then?
Yeah, I mean, I think, at the point where you can afford to be milked, you're doing something luxurious because that's what
right, right,
that's
right.
Yeah.
probably what that's about. Instead of being steadfast on demanding a finished product. Um, I think you can get away with budget gaming, like like Vince was talking about. I think it can be luxurious. Like you can go get your 5090 with your 4K ultra wide, and you can do it big. But um, I think if you want to be on the cutting edge, I think if you want to play the thing when the thing comes out, I think it is a luxury to do those things. But I think if you go buy an Xbox instead of a high end PC, wait for things to be on sale, or even if you get a mid range PC and wait for things to be on sale, if you can wait, it can be a budget. It can be a budget thing, but like Vince was saying, a lot of people do complain about the price of thing, even though if you adjust for inflation, it is actually cheaper than it was,
Hmm.
which is a weird thing to
Yeah.
kind of think about. It was $60 in the '90s, and it's $70 now, so it's actually cheaper than it's ever been. But at the same time, people see price go up, and they don't account for the inflation aspect of it. But yeah, I do think most forms of entertainment are superfluous. I mean, we don't need them. I don't want them to go away, but I still want them to be around, and so the price of things are kind of sensitive, whether or not I want to pay the 50-90 price and be milked for a product over and over again with DLC, with nickel and diming you. So yeah, it's it can be a luxury if you let it. I think if you want to keep up, if you try to
Right.
keep up with the Joneses,
I
it can be very much a luxury.
Yeah,
In this
moderate. It's moderation, right?
moderation, correct.
Yeah,
And I would say in this day and age, considering the fact that entertainment is at the ready at any given moment for anyone to do.
yeah,
And on top of that, we used to have analog television channels, so you had access to entertainment at
yeah,
a cheap, just a TV, price of a TV to hook it up.
Oh no,
And I
antenna.
guess,
You need the antenna.
well,
But
need the
but
yeah,
antenna.
still,
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
but hey, your
Yeah,
kid with some foil could be an antenna. You just have them
Yeah,
RF.
their remotes
Hey,
too.
hey, stand still. I'm trying to watch this game.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
what
have
did
to
you move? Did you
little
move?
knob,
Yeah.
Right, turn it up, yeah.
like you're cracking a safe. Yeah,
Hmm.
turn the UHS and the VHS remote, and then
We used to
turn
have
the
an
little knob.
antenna. My dad would have us go out onto the porch and turn by hand. And then, because we couldn't hear him in the other room, he'd bang
Yeah,
on the wall and you'd hear that reverberate through the wall. Okay. And then we'd go in. And he goes, no, no, no. What'd you do? You had it. Go back out. And then he'd tell us,
yeah,
just stay there.
yeah,
You're gonna pay me for this, Dad? No.
yeah.
I
Till the show's
room
over.
and board and everything. You're doing your job.
Yeah,
So on that same note, what about the what's going on with the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, and what Nintendo
The Wii.
Wii are now being moved out to become those collector's items.
Well, they're
yeah,
classified now as retro.
Retro.
yes,
I mean, it's like we've already most of us already considered them retro because it's like two generations
yeah.
is usually means that that console is a retro
I
console.
think
But some people don't
a lot
want
of people
to.
say like 10 years or something.
Yeah,
Anything
that's
10 years in the past that they want to
that's
call that
retro.
retro now.
But we don't have anything really coming out like it used to back in the day where, okay, this one's obsolete. I'm ready for the next one. While we were getting a new one, they were already working on the next one after that. We're not getting that anymore.
Well, we are, but the problem is that we had a pandemic, so that stunted the process for anything that they were doing for next gen consoles with the PS5. That's why it took so long for us to get a pro system for that system, as a
Yeah,
pro console for that system, as well as like with Nintendo with the Switch. They promised or talked about that they were going to do a pro system for the Switch.
yeah,
We never
yeah. I
got it.
remember
All
that.
we got was an OLED, which is just a better screen and a better battery.
Yeah,
And then we got the Switch 2, um, which is fine, but like people are they're complaining about it. It's like, oh, it's not enough to be competitive with Sony and Xbox, but it's like, but this is Nintendo, guys. Did you forget who Nintendo
yeah.
is?
It was
They
it was
don't
never going to be that.
they don't march to anybody else's drum but themselves.
And they're more family oriented than
They're more family.
the other game
Hmm.
systems.
Their
And
brands can withstand graphics quality. Their
yeah.
brands just they outshine any kind of performance or graphics quality pitch that any other company would have.
Hmm. But like with Microsoft right now, they're having their fallout, and unfortunately, we may or may not see a next gen console. They may move towards being on every console. You just download
Yeah.
the Xbox app. It could be on every device. Everything is. So your
Yep.
TV with a smart touch thing could have an Xbox on it, so you can play Halo while
Could
you're
be.
getting a glass of water. Um,
I wouldn't advise it, but you could do
right, right.
it.
Um, and then Sony, I think is gonna announce something this year, probably for whatever they're gonna do for the PS6, but I don't think we're gonna
Yeah.
get it until 2028.
No, that there's no incentive for them to
Mhm.
basically do anything. They've killed the competition. It's over. Like Sony is going to be doing whatever they want to do, and they're going to run roughshod over all their customers now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like this is not good. Microsoft doing badly in the game space is really not good for anyone that enjoys games outside of Nintendo.
Hmm.
Like they are really going to start doing some crazy stuff now that they don't have any competition.
Yeah.
Sony,
And
I mean,
and what's
Yeah.
what's funny is Microsoft. I like the idea of where they were going. The next
yes,
gen was going to be a like a computer. It could be
yes,
upgraded and everything else, and you could use it for other things besides gaming, which is what their target was all along.
yeah,
But I don't know if that's going to go anywhere anymore.
No, well, not with
no,
I mean, that kind of got put on the sidelines because they were trying to make the whole everything was an Xbox. They were
yeah,
really trying to hold pass the whole subscription thing with the Game Pass, which I'm gonna be honest, I think Sony has it better with what they do on their premium system with like as much
yeah,
stuff as you get. You get so much more than you get on the Xbox Game Pass, and then on top of that, you had oh yeah, every first party title will be on the Game Pass, and it's like, well, maybe I don't want to play this game. Maybe it's
yeah.
not something I'm interested in.
Well,
They
Sony
don't.
has better brands than Microsoft, hands down. Too. I mean, it goes Nintendo, Sony, then Microsoft.
Yeah.
They
Correct.
have they have much more beloved characters and legacy games than Microsoft does, and only Nintendo can compete with them there. And so, yeah, if you have a subscription, would you rather play God of War 2 or Forza 1?
Or
I mean,
Fallout 4, Fallout
Blinks,
76 that
you
you've
know,
already
hey,
played
you want to
before.
yeah, you want to load up Blinks the Time Sweeper, or you want to load up God of War 3, that it's a hard sell.
Um, but going back to the finish up the legacy thing, and what I was gonna make a point on was the fact that like all of this is almost necessary because the fact that you have to either have a subscription service, you have to have a console. If you want any form of entertainment other than
Yeah.
radio, because the radio is the
Mm.
last bastion for
Media. Yeah.
free media.
Now
Uh,
they still broadcast things. Oh, they still broadcast over the air TV,
Well,
and the
yeah,
quality is pretty good. But I
good.
mean,
But
yeah,
it's all local. It's
it's all
about
local. Yeah,
58
yeah.
to 64 channels, which is
yeah,
really good. But
Hmm.
what's
yeah.
sad is a lot of them are you can flip through all those channels and some of them are duplicates, just
Yeah.
the
Yes, yes, yeah.
same
Mhm.
show, different channel.
Hmm.
Different channel.
Um,
Yeah,
so
Subscription
okay.
service did become cheaper than cable, but now that like to be able to watch everything you want to be able to watch, you have to have all of it, so it didn't cost the
it
same as
goes
if you
right
just got
back to the
cable.
same price. It
Yeah.
goes
Yep,
right back
yep,
to the same price. That was
uh,
always the plan. That was
Hmm.
yep.
always the plan.
All the way to plan. Yep. So when game systems went to where you were required to connect to their network to be able to play with somebody else. And then they tied it to you have to be on their network to play their games
And membership. How about
and
that?
membership and all this other stuff. They were eliminating a certain subset of gamers.
Yeah,
They
Well,
were
yeah, because they
only
weren't
going
the
going for
live
the people.
service.
They were only going for the people who could afford their services. They
yeah.
weren't even thinking about the other players anymore.
Well, that it was also the fact that we don't have the infrastructure. We still don't have the infrastructure to have full capabilities of what is provided with these services because there are still areas in the US that can does not have do not have good or reliable internet.
Internet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like to think about trying to play Call of Duty or a fighting game with the latency on that would be so horrible.
It's not
Uh,
good.
so, but it it's one of those things where like we talk about how like Facebook itself kind of brought us all together, connected a lot of people. Social media as a whole brought us closer together, but it was one of those things that it I think it segmented us more and
Yeah.
disconnected us even further because you're less likely to, you know, start a movement online than you are if you were in person.
Oh,
So,
no, no, the hell
but
with that.
I know, but I'm
I
just
will if you give me a bad game, I'm going to start a movement on you.
right.
Um, but I think
Yeah.
the problem is that with social media, they turned us into a commodity to be bought and sold, and we're a product on a shelf.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if I like that. If I'm just wanting to play a game, if I'm wanting to watch a movie, I don't want to be somebody staring back at me and what I'm watching, what I'm doing, and going, "Hey, how do we monetize this guy?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that goes on with YouTube all the time, honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but we got Mark Zuckerberg to thank for that because he mastered it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to move us on.
Okay.
Um, the topic: how much time should we spend playing a game at a certain age?
I'm gonna be
I've been
honest.
thinking about that a lot.
I think younger people should be playing less video games because there's certain influential things that they need to learn
Hmm.
and understand so that way they can be functioning members of society, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you're too tapped into, like my son, Roblox, so we're battling with him to getting off of that because it is just a horrible, horrible thing. I understand his want to do game development, but
Yeah.
I could find better ways to get him into that
Absolutely.
that would not be as addictive as Roblox is.
Now, I'm going to stop you there because as a father who had you as a gamer, I didn't have to worry about this so much for games as music with your sister. But when I would try to tell you the exact same thing that you're saying right now, you would think I was pulling teeth. So,
But I would go to
I,
tournaments and win money, and you would be like, okay, well, I can see where there's something out of
yeah,
this.
see, that was in high school. I always knew that that was there. I remember
Yeah.
my dad arguing with me and getting mad at me, making me take a stack of comics and go burn them in that
Well,
barrel. Wait, let me finish and burn
okay.
that in that can. And then years and years later, I had a comics price guide with me, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, remember how you said it was all junk and wasn't worth anything?" I walked over and he said, "See this book right here? This $18,000 book? That's one of
Yeah.
those ones you had me burn." And then
Yeah.
it hit him. I could see his mind just being blown. And he
Yeah.
goes, "They were worth that much?" And I said, "Well, maybe not then, but they are now. But some of them were worth that. But
Yeah.
all you saw them was a way of punishing me when I didn't listen to you, or that they were a fire hazard in the house,
Fire
or
hazard.
that I would be reading a comic and you go do this." I said, "Yeah, in a minute, let me finish reading this comic." And
Yeah.
that's the same as, "Hey, get off the game and go take out the garbage." Let me get to
No,
us. Wait a minute. Wait,
let
let
me
me get to a
explain
say.
because
No, no, I'm not talking about you. I'm not
I
talking
can
about you.
counter that. I can counter that
Yeah.
because
Let,
Roblox as a platform has a lot of predators on it and has been known. There's content on there that is not appropriate for children. And on
yes, I
top of
agree.
that, the thing is that thing is designed to just milk money off of these kids that don't know any better, that go, I want to have these skins or whatever. And they
It's
get their parents to,
pay
Skins.
for play,
and
baby. That's how everything is right now.
but I'd rather him
Skins.
play a game that I pay $60 for and play it to its fullest and then pick up one of the other thousands of games I have at my house that it's going to be his when I die anyway
Yeah.
because he's going to get something more out of that.
Eventually, right now, he is interested in his own thing instead of what you have. And this is a generational thing. Same way with
But
movies, same
I
way with
didn't.
music and everything else.
But the thing about
So
that is
eventually
it's
he
different.
might find your games interesting. Right now, that's his. The trick is to finding that balance, giving
I
him a certain amount of time on it, and then saying, okay, now you have to give me that a certain amount on something else
That is true.
and make a trade-off with him.
But the thing is that we don't want him on that because
No,
he doesn't take care of it's one thing if like I wasn't taking care of myself, doing things that were bad. Like he's not taking care of himself while he's on that game. And I get it. It's one of those things that it's different if like his friends and family were here. Because I grew up like you did and Adrian and most of the people listening to us with friends. We grew up with them coming over, or us going over there, or us going outside and having adventures and doing different things. He doesn't have that. There are no kids on the street that are his age that he can hang out with. And we have yet to be able to get any of the families of the friends that he has at school to come over to the house.
Now that's some of that's because they're all afraid right now, and that's a whole different
That
show.
is a different thing. But like, and then on top of that, with the families not here, we don't have any of our family here, but with kids his age. Jeremiah's the only one, and he's a good kid, but we can only deal with him in so many doses, unfortunately.
Sure.
And we'll have to put it that way. But like
Okay.
he's a good kid, but they need more outside influences to help them because that's how we grow as people. Like, I wouldn't have known about certain things had I not met certain friends. Same thing with Adrian.
Right.
If I, if we didn't talk, we would have known that like we were both into Street Fighter or a certain anime or movies and things like that. There's things that he introduced me to and vice versa. Same thing with all my friends. He doesn't have that. We're like kind of like his gatekeepers into this new world that he could just like rule if he decided to take.
Well, I mean, you were each generation is benefited by the last. Like me and my friends bonded out going hunting for hunting dinosaurs and doing all that other kind of stuff, and you bonded over the games or like a t-shirt. You went to school with something that showed you played something and somebody who played that recognized it and they'd
Or
come over and talk
movies.
to you, or movies and they'd come over and talk to you. Me and my generation, we were kicked out of the house. As soon as cartoons were
Get
over,
out.
my dad was like, get to the chopper, but anyway, but yeah.
Yeah.
And so it amazes me that I would be terrified if my grandkids did the things that I was doing at their age. Because it felt like hundreds of miles away with
Hmm.
no parent knowing anything about where I was or what I was doing. And we were doing stupid stuff. And so,
I thought about that. I really thought about that because, like, remember I had that bike, and I remember people in school would say, "Oh, hey, it's Vince, the guy that rides the bike up and down the street," And it's like
That's
because
hilarious.
I didn't want Dad to like. I could literally bike ride over to my school. I could go to the Alameda Mall, but I didn't because I didn't want to worry my dad. So it was like, okay, I stayed
Yeah.
within my confines because I didn't want to get in trouble. And
not when you were 5.
no,
No,
but
not when you were a baby
no, yeah,
crossing,
well, yeah, right, right,
escaping out of the house and crossing over a major road.
right.
Or me being at work and my friend going, "Hey, who's that little kid coming?" I was like, "That's my son." And we both would jump over the counter, tear out through the door, and we're running across the parking lot and go through 2 lanes of high-speed traffic coming at us.
Hmm.
Get across there, and if he wasn't faster than I was and got you and snatched you up and took you back over, you owe your life to Ronnie, man, because he caught you as that truck was just going to get to you, and I was just, ugh. And I wanted to hug you and squeeze you till your head popped at the same time.
Right.
I love you. Are you okay? Ah, thank
Ah!
you. Yeah,
It was the whole Bart Simpson and Homer.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
But and you did it several times. So don't. It's not
yeah.
like it was you were. Is the doors locked? Where's the boy? Is the chain on his ankle? Because he was an escape
Hilarious.
artist. But yeah, I mean, I walked to from I got when I got I went to Page, not Page, Dobie, and I could either walk to Alameda Mall, or if I wanted, I had to walk to Baybrook Mall. And some of my friends would hitchhike there, but I was like, I ain't hitchhiking because there are a lot of nuts on 45. You know how far that was? And then I would be always lucky enough to meet one of my friends that was there and had a car, and then they
Yeah.
would take me home. And when I got my car, I was just gone all the time, clear across town.
Yeah.
Mhm. So let's get back to the question at hand, though.
Yeah, yeah,
Spending,
yeah. I'm sorry.
Adrian, like,
That's it.
what is your thoughts on was an acceptable amount of time at what age?
Again, I think it's more of a ratio of things you have to do versus gaming time.
Hmm.
And I think maybe the ratio is a little bit higher when you're younger, and maybe it um, gets a little more skewed towards the things that you have to do. Like I thought about, okay, if I work like 40 to 50 hours a week, uh, how much if I play like an hour a day, 7 days a week, is 7 hours a week, is that pretty good? And what ends up happening is I don't play an hour a day, but if I get a free Saturday, I might hit the Street Fighter for 3 hours, right? And maybe that's all I do that week. But I am kind of salivating to get some more time on it, and just the time never
It
kind of
happens.
comes. But if I get on vacation, man, I might play 4 or 5 hours a day on vacation,
Games
and
were
kill it.
invented for staycations.
Yeah,
Yes, they
and
were.
and, and kill it that way. But I think, if you're in your teens and 20s, maybe that's like second job amount of hours, 15, 15, 20 hours a week. If you get into your 30s, uh, you know,
If you're getting into your
maybe 10
30s and you're
hours.
playing that many times, you ain't got
Yeah.
a personal.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
Yeah, it should slow down by then, because I can remember, like, even when I was working like two jobs, 80 hours a week in my early 20s. You're in your 20s, you're made of steel. So I would get off one job, have 3 hours before I'd go to the next one, be like, you know what? I think I can get a couple rounds of games in before I go to sleep for 2 hours, and then go to the next job. And you just pop back up and go. But I don't even know if I played 10 hours a week when I was in my 20s, unless some other people were playing. But it was more, I think when I was thinking about that question, it was more, if I were to refine it, like, how much time in adulthood would I play game before I started to feel guilty about it? Like,
Never. No,
and
not
if I
just
if
not
I
right now.
what I'm saying
For
is,
me.
like, if I'm sitting there playing, what is the threshold where I would be like,
well,
yeah, I should probably go stop and go do something
I, I
else.
I think it would be, Adrian, if you come home and you look at your game system, you go, "Hi, honey, I'm home," and you go over and kiss it, you've been
Yeah.
spending too
You,
much
you've been
Spend
spending
time
spend
time
too
with
much
it,
time, yeah,
right?
with the
with the game
games.
system.
When
That's
the
it.
Um,
Xbox goes, "Hi, honey, how was your day?" It's
That's
like,
it.
what?
That's it.
and
Uh,
or like me, I had kids at an early age, and they would sometimes want to go out, and I would
Yeah.
want to play something, and I'd look over, and the pouty lips would be out, or the devil's stare, okay, okay, I'm turning off, and we go
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
mall, go to the park, go do something, and then placate my overlords, and then
Yeah.
come back, and when they go to bed, I would play for a couple
Play a little
hours.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it was tough because I worked a full-time job. I went to full-time school in the evenings
Yeah.
and then would pick them up sometimes from their grandmothers. And we'd come home and I'd have maybe I got off early and we'd have enough time to do something together. But it was pretty
Yeah.
much um, spend an hour with them, get them bathed and bed, and then me having to go to my art table because it's an art school to
Yeah.
finish my project before I had to turn it in the next day. Um, so there was a period where I had to put games down.
Yeah.
And sometimes, because at that point my son was playing games and I would do what I needed to do while watching him. And so
yeah.
I would
Yeah.
live vicariously through him playing video games. And then I would go, okay, that's enough. Get off the game. I want to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's hilarious.
but this kind of brings me to the final question on your list, and that
Okay.
is, are
Well, hold on.
is
Let me finish.
okay.
Let me ask it. Hold on.
You
Or let me
yeah.
not ask, but let me get my thing in here
Yeah.
because I played a lot younger, and I probably still play a lot now. But
Yeah.
there's times I don't like. I'll be a couple weeks. Like maybe I get on, and it's just because the 2 hours I stream, and I may only do 2 hours. I mean, 4 hours that week, and that's all I get to play.
Yeah.
Because we're doing stuff. I'm tired. I maybe want to be just watching something. I don't really want to focus on anything, or I'm working on videos or whatever, or
Yeah.
podcast editing. But when I do game, I'll game. Like, I mean, if it's
Yeah.
on my time, like with Resident Evil, like I wanted to continue to play that. Like we streamed for 8 hours playing that one
Yeah.
day. Like last night I played through Star Wars
Star Wars, yeah.
Republic Commando, and I didn't even realize I played for 6 hours. I was just having a good time, and people were showing
Yeah.
up, and my
Yeah.
friends were showing up in the chat, and it's just like I just played. It was just like I zoned. But like that same day, I still did something with Edward. I did some. We ate dinner. I worked. And it was like and then I went to bed. And then Edward was sick this morning, and I worked from home today, and I took him to the doctors and everything,
Yeah.
and came back here, finished up my day, passed out for a little bit just to get ready for this. But like, I could spend time playing games like right after we do this, but I'm gonna work on clearing a shelf that I need to move.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, it's just all that balance. Like, so sometimes I just won't play, but then I catch up when I can. It's like if you're running on like 4, 6, maybe 7 hours of sleep a night, on the weekends you kind of catch up on that sleep you missed, and then you kind of go back into that whole process you did before.
Yeah.
So like when I do game, it's like I'm gaming. I'm like, all right, I'm dedicating this block amount of time to game. And as long as it doesn't like I can pause it to go help my wife if she needs something. If we're cleaning, I won't even work on gaming or whatever. Or I'll like on Sunday, me and Edward watched Godzilla Raids Again and King Kong versus Godzilla. So we watched two
Yeah.
movies in the time, and I was still working while I was doing stuff. So sometimes I just won't game, but I do when I do game, I do game. And I think as long as you do it in moderation and it's not it goes back in that whole thing we were talking about at the beginning, and it doesn't take over your life, you can do it. Like as long as you're giving an equal amount of time throughout your week to what you need to do, you should be able to have that amount of fun time as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a hindrance as long as you know how to balance it. The moment that it tips in one side over the other, it could be bad because if you don't get enough time to game, you're gonna have that moment where you lapse and you're like, I'm gonna just game and just then you put yourself back into
Yeah.
that bad situation, or vice
Yeah.
versa. So
Or your wife uses your head as a ping pong ball with a skillet.
Yeah.
that's never happened. It never will happen.
No, 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 no. It wasn't about
No,
you.
I know, I know, I know.
Yeah.
It was like
But yeah, that's that was my thought on that. I want to at least get my 2 cents in.
well,
Ah, that's all right.
the last question I wanted to ask is, but I'm going to kind of preface it is with a game, if it's really enjoyable and you lose yourself in that game,
Yeah.
that's one thing. But if you're like, what do they call it when you're like trying to get all the trophies or everything else like that?
Completionist.
It's a completion. It's like a job instead of enjoyable. I don't know if that is what I'm going to ask you guys about. So the
Yeah.
final question on the list was, can you include gaming as stress management, or can gaming lead to stress?
I there are occasions when, because I'm a big fighting game guy and I play Street Fighter. There are occasions when I have to put the game down because I'm red hot over something that happened in an online match or something, and I have to go, hey man, I gotta do it. But it's a lot of times it's really satisfying, some of those online matches, and I do feel good once I if I like, okay, I'm gonna stop on the win, and I really feel good and I feel better than um than when I started. And yeah, I'm like it can be good for stress, but it goes to the other topic that we're talking about. If it can become a crutch for stress, I think that can be one thing to do for stress.
Mhm.
And you have a various things that you would do to relieve some stress, and maybe that's one of them, and not the only thing, probably.
Right, because I believe that it's okay if it's for stress management to relieve stress, but if it adds more stress, then you're not getting anything from it.
Yeah, yeah,
And maybe you need to walk away from it. Again, it goes back to like what we've all been saying is everything in moderation.
Mhm.
I
yeah,
just don't see moderation as much as we used to because I don't think people have that internal observation anymore. They don't, oh, I'm wasting too much time in this. I need to go out and visit
yeah,
my friends. They
yeah,
don't think of it that way anymore. I believe that sitting in front of a screen, playing games or whatever you're doing changes your brain and the way you think.
yeah.
And we need to deplug, deprogram from
Mhm.
electronic things and get back into the world or do something physical with your family or just you getting out and walking. You need that because too much of anything is bad for you.
And that question, I got that question from I used to see a lot of videos and things like that about games, and going back to the thing about the game prices being so high, there were people making this argument that games should be more affordable because that was their sole. A lot of people use that as their sole method of managing stress, and
Mhm.
I thought that shouldn't really. I don't think that should be. I don't think you should use video games as your sole there's your only thing for managing your stress. There's a lot of,
Yes.
I would even think better ways, cheaper ways to manage stress, even just going for a walk, doing some mild exercise. After you get done with that, a lot of people feel better. And, just with even mild exercise and talking to somebody and things like that. And that's what, I think that's what prompted that question is people saying, oh, games should be for everyone because I use it quote not me but because I use it to manage my stress and I should be able to afford these things and I'm like no that's not a that's probably not a that's probably not a healthy thing or a good idea.
It depends on what you're doing, what you're playing, um, and what's going on because,
Yeah,
you know, sometimes escapism can be a good thing, especially when like you may have a difficult job. You have a horrible boss who doesn't understand like personal boundaries, who may not like understand the whole work-life balance. Like this is a
I
career,
feel like you're
you
talking
should
about
be de
somebody we know.
we could this is a you're dedicated to your job. Like every waking moment that you're out of the job, you should be studying to be better at your job, kind of thing. And it's like, dude,
Yeah,
I need to. I'm not here because this is something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm here
yeah,
because this is something to help support my family, support my hobbies, and then like until I figure out what I want to do and be better at, then I'll move on. But like I'm gonna give you the 100% that I can,
yeah,
and but let me go home and not think about this job because then I'm gonna kill myself with a heart attack.
So what happened was they sold us a bill of goods by selling us time is money,
Hmm.
yeah,
and people took that to heart. And what did I always say when y'all were younger? We work to what?
Work to live.
We
Work
work
to
to live, not live to work.
work. Yep.
yeah,
And so when you walk out that door, you should be able to leave that stress. And I know it's hard because remember how many times I got caught up in that mess, and that's what put me in the hospital and gave me a heart attack.
Hmm.
yeah,
And so I forgot my own golden rule, and it's something that everybody should realize. Your career path and all of that stuff won't mean anything when you get older unless you're wealthy and you can do whatever you want and plan on retiring at 39. Most of
yeah,
us are going to work till we die.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so we need to hold on to as much of our personal life as we can.
Hmm.
yeah,
Time is not money. Time is
No.
your time, and then there's time for making money.
Well, time is money
yeah,
for the employer who's like paying you less than what they should be, who's making all this money and paying their executives like six figures.
Yeah.
instead of trickling it to the employees that do the most work. But hey, that's just me. Um, but
I agree,
I,
comrade.
yeah.
I'm just messing with you, man. I just
But
play.
I feel like, you invest in your employees, they're going to want to work harder. And that was one of the
Yeah,
things that working at grocers that I really enjoyed when it was
man. Yeah,
grocers by the Levitts,
yeah.
because we had
It was the best job I ever had, man.
we had executive benefits as far as like healthcare. Like I was paying $25 a month for me and my
Yeah.
wife, or a paycheck for me and my wife to have like the best, like you just go see a doctor, there's no copay kind of thing.
Remember,
And it
we
was
had that clinic on the grounds where we
on the
basically paid
grounds.
nothing.
hmm and then like they would have company picnics, company like holiday events. I mean, we got a Christmas bonus. I mean, it was
Yeah,
really, really nice. And it changed once it was purchased. And
Well, that's the difference between family-owned companies
correct,
mm,
and
that
corporation.
that see
yeah,
their employees as members of their family, and
yeah,
corporate, and they have or who are beholden to shareholders and nobody else.
yeah,
And I kind of it kind of sucks because I still kick myself that like I should have took that opportunity that Namaya had said, "Hey, go take the test, do this," and I wasn't
yeah,
sure and confident in myself. And that's the one thing that like I have always told my son is that like, look, even if you don't feel you can do it, have the confidence you can, believe in yourself, and you can
yeah,
overachieve anything that comes
yeah. Give it a
across.
shot.
Give it a shot because it's like if it doesn't happen, well, you know what you did,
Nothing
learn,
ventured,
fix,
nothing gained.
yeah,
You
Yeah,
know,
fix it and go for it again.
yeah, and see,
Uh,
that's the thing. We never know what we're capable of until we do it. And if
mhm,
you
yeah,
never do it, you'll never know what you're capable of.
right.
But when take a test, put yourself out there, do something outside of your comfort zone, and find out who you are and what you're capable of. Because we all
yeah,
believe we're capable of doing things, but
hmm
until that is presented to us and we have to do it, we won't know.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like I
it,
said, that was the best. That's funny that you brought that up. I was thinking about that today because some guys at my job were reminiscing about the old days at their job, and then I was like, say, man, I enjoyed so much working for Gross Supply back in the day. I There was never a day where I didn't want to come in to work, where I was dreading
mhm.
coming into work. I can't remember a day where that was a problem for me. It was Yeah, that was the best job I ever had.
You know what? That's when it's not work anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
When
Exactly.
you're enjoying yourself and enjoying what you're doing, that is what you're meant to be doing at that point in your life. When
yeah,
you're happy to walk in the door, and if you have to work 30 minutes over, you don't even notice it because you're
yeah,
doing what you love doing and you're doing it with people that you enjoy being
So doing
around.
it with
yeah,
eh,
Because when it's the opposite, it's like being in prison. Every
yeah, yeah,
second,
that's
every second
yeah,
becomes an
right.
hour.
Right. And
yeah,
that was I think too, because like I remember, and this is why I made the statement I did, is that with when I was when we were with grocers, I hadn't moved over to IT, which I really enjoyed that time I was there for that.
yeah,
But I did enjoy working in accounts receivable, fixing all of our IT problems because I was the one that they would ask before they would call you guys to come over there and fix things.
yeah,
And but like I was problem solving all of our stuff that we would do as far as like implementing like the better check stuff. I had a system for all the attachments that go out. All that stuff I helped with and made it efficient. And
yeah.
but I hated working for my three bosses because they
That's
didn't
hilarious.
understand how to one, not manage your group as if they were your kids.
Yeah,
Um, Two, we have forms of communication, multiple forms of communication, to be able
yeah.
to call someone into their office, not go, "Hey, Vince," yelling from across the room. It's like, okay, what did I do now?
That's hilarious.
And then on top of that was like if someone made a mistake, we all got punished for it. And
Yeah,
it's like, come on, guys, you can't do that.
yeah. That's pretty silly.
But there was much more. But it was like at that period of time, I loved the job. I loved the people I worked for, but I would get
Yeah,
stressed and I would go home and I would play games to unstress myself. Because back
Yeah,
then
yeah,
I didn't have Edward yet.
yeah,
And so it was like me and Anna would have time for dinner. We'd watch a movie. She would go do her thing. I would play games until like 1 or 2 at night, go to sleep, get up at 7, be at work at 8, and then, continue the process. But,
yeah,
um, I just video games can be used for stress, but there's other things that you can use, and you shouldn't just use one thing as a way to unwind from the stress you're doing, because that's what happens with people with alcohol. They drink alcohol, they may take drugs, and that's the thing that they
Mm,
use, and then it ruins their life.
well,
yeah,
that's self-medicating. That is
True, it is
trying
true.
to get away from something by taking something that numbs that feeling. Games
yeah,
don't numb that feeling. That's still going to be there when you turn the game off.
yeah,
The only way to get over that kind of stuff is to confront it.
yeah,
Correct. Right, right. Or
Uh,
to find something better, or to move away
well,
to
even just moving away or finding a better job is confronting the situation.
yes, exactly.
yeah,
That's
But
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
ignoring the situation, it's still going to be there.
Hmm.
If you get drunk, when you wake up, your problems is going to still be there. You do
It's still
drugs,
gonna be
same
there.
thing.
This is gonna be
Every,
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
so you need to decide when enough is enough
Enough.
and make
Hmm.
a change in your own life.
yeah,
Um, I love gaming and I game because it's an enjoyment,
Hmm.
and you know how I felt when I was assaulted and they broke my fingers and I'd lost a part of myself. I couldn't build models. I couldn't draw. I couldn't do anything. And then
yeah,
games were gone. Um, and so I started writing, even though I had to type with one finger with another hand. At
yeah,
least having something for me to burn that energy off, which is I
Hmm.
think what games do. It allows us to burn that stress off, you know,
Yes.
and when we succeed, it releases endorphins in our brain.
Hmm.
And so in a way it's like a drug.
yeah,
Right. But that
But
could be done for a lot of things too. I mean, if you're
yes,
doing
it's
some,
true.
yeah.
yeah,
And going out on a jog does it,
yeah, yeah,
riding your bike. Like I used to go ride my bike when
Hmm.
your mom would stress me out till I got hit by the car, you know. Man, I'm driving down what was that? Not El Dorado, the other one. Nass Road one, wasn't it? I can't
Yeah.
no. No, it
Uh,
was the one
Bay
between
Area.
there. Bay Area.
Yeah.
And I'd ridden my bike this way for a long time because I'd go down to the park and then ride the circuit.
yeah,
And some guy jumped a light and he hit the back tire as I
yeah.
was going by. Man, and I went flying. My bike went flying into the middle of the road. It was run over like twice. And
Mm,
I was so mad because I'd left because I was angry at my ex-wife. And I had
yeah,
to walk in and I'm all beat up, scarred up from the road, carrying my bike that looked like a pretzel. And she
yeah.
goes, "You have fun?"
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
That's funny.
where's a game? I need to kill
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty good.
Well.
no, but I do believe everything in moderation, and
Hmm.
each generation goes through this parent and son, parent and daughter, whatever, and we need to pass down our lessons to them. And
Yeah.
if that means, okay, you need to learn to turn it off occasionally,
Yeah.
and that there are other things we need that are important.
Yeah.
But I do believe it can be a stress reliever if it's not turned into a crutch. You have to know when to turn that game off when something else is more important. And I don't care if I don't have a save point, it's got to go off because I got to go deal with this. Um,
That's why there's a pause button. You just leave it there and walk away. Turn off the TV so it doesn't sit there and remind you. But
but games
I,
can be stressful. Like, remember how many times did I try to beat Gun Griffin?
oh
And
yeah, I
every
know.
time I got to the friggin' end of that game, something would
And
happen.
Yeah.
Electricity would go out, the TV went
yeah,
off, the game system shut down twice. I was like,
that's
this
funny.
game does not want me to beat it. It's
Yeah.
Hmm.
cursed. Get it out of my house.
Yeah.
Dude, that's funny.
So,
Um,
but yeah.
but I guess to wrap this up, or well, you know
Yeah.
what? Yeah, we'll go and wrap it up. So, guys, like, what would be some parting wisdom that you would give to somebody to for perspective on how to handle, gaming going forward in their life?
Moderation. I think that's the key word. Moderation,
Mhm.
balance, equilibrium.
I agree with that. I would say that, um, like with anything, too much of a good thing can be bad for you. So turn it off,
Yeah.
occasionally.
Mhm.
I don't know if equilibrium is the right word. We're gonna have to.
Well,
It's
that's
a
a
it's
You
a
ba
have to edit. You have
equilibrium
to
it's a
is
edit
great
that out.
movie. It's a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
movie.
yes, you edit
well,
that out.
equilibrium
Edit
is
that out.
because it is a balance.
It's a
When you
balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
find equilibrium,
Yeah.
you're finding
yeah,
your
Yeah.
balance. So it's
yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. It's spot on. Leave it.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Um,
So, and I would say, don't don't always play games alone. Take a time
yeah.
to maybe
Yes,
play with,
yes.
if you have
Community,
kids,
community.
play with your kids. If you have a wife or a husband, play with them. If it's the only way that you get to see some of your friends or family, take and make that opportunity. It's worth it
Yeah. I
because
wish Xbox still
connection.
had the webcam thing that I guess Nintendo just circled back around to, where you can see
Oh,
people while you're playing. That
yeah,
that
the
yep.
Connect
that's
stuff.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I still have all of that.
I
Yeah.
honestly, I would love the community Netflix watch parties to come
Yeah,
back.
that was
Oh,
cool too. That
and
was very cool.
yeah, because we friends from around, if when we moved away from each other
Yeah.
on a Saturday, we could get together in this virtual room and just
Hmm.
goofball watching a movie.
Yeah.
Mystery Science Theater it up in there.
Yeah. I miss that, and I'm not going to talk about what
I know.
inflation and stuff, but
I know.
that was one of those key moments when a game system could bring people together like no other way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The
Um,
360, I have to say, was one of the best generation consoles we've ever got.
Yeah.
As much as
It
I
was
love the
really good.
PS5, the PS4, and what every other console has brought, the 360 hands down was the best. And
Really
just
good.
from the features, the games, the community, all of it was fantastic. It was a time to be around for gaming.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it has its up and downs, but it was definitely something that I definitely miss. And it was
Yeah.
one with a time when Microsoft was on top.
so I
Yeah.
got a question, but one more question. We got a little bit of time. Um, if you were to, everything has a gold and a silver and a bronze age,
Mhm.
right? I know what I would think. What are y'all's in gaming? What is the golden age? What is the silver age? And what is the bronze age? Bronze age?
I think the golden age for me would be 16-bit, like Super Nintendo. Um, Silver Age might be the 360 stuff. Um, no, yeah, no, not the 360 stuff. It would be the PS1, Xbox stuff, because that was a lot of fun to be had in that generation, and then maybe bronze would be like the 360 stuff. So those three kind of consecutive generations of gaming is what I would consider to be those. Golden age definitely would be Super Nintendo for me. That was
Yeah.
it was right after I was old enough to really appreciate what was what was being presented to me, like the finer details of games and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I would almost say the same thing because like if you think about it as like how comics reference the golden, the silver, and the bronze, it's usually the golden is like the beginning. So for me, yeah, definitely Super Nintendo. I have a lot of fond memories with that system. My favorite game of all time is on there. It's when I really kind of pushed playing RPGs
yeah, and Genesis.
and
Yeah, that
and
Super
Genesis.
NES and Genesis. Yeah,
And then the Silver Age was the PlayStation to, I would say, the Dreamcast.
yeah.
That block
Okay.
because
Yeah, yeah,
it was such a quick turnaround for those
yeah,
console
yeah. For
launches.
those, yeah. And
And
I
because
would actually lump the arcade stuff in with the Super Nintendo and the Genesis stuff.
mhm,
I feel like the arcades were were hitting their peak, but about to decline around that time too.
Yeah. Bronze Age would be the 360, PS3, the Wii, and then modern age would be, of course, the anything now.
Yeah,
PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and all that stuff. But yeah, that I mean, because Super Nintendo, PlayStation, and the 360, I would have to say, are the three big important consoles of my generation, of
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Just growing up, the importance of it. So,
yeah,
So for me, arcade, go ahead if you need to say something, would be the arcade because that was the golden age. We went from like the Commodore and the Atari
yeah,
to these big, beautiful consoles that you would go and spend all day in. And then we went that in a way transitioned over to the cartridge. It never really left the cartridge period.
yeah,
The silver would be the disc, the CDs games.
yeah,
Gave us much better visuals, gave us much longer play and everything. And
music,
then and then when we went to like the PlayStation and they had that like a DVD, what is the
the
I don't
DVD
want to call it
player,
a
or
yeah, it was like a Blueray. When we went to
the,
Blu-ray and everything
well, that would
really
have been PS3.
right.
PS2
And
was the
so
DVD because DVD
so
that would
yeah.
have been the
PS2
game
was
changer.
DVD. Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. The cartridge, which includes arcades, the
yeah,
CD, and then the Blu-ray,
yeah, yeah,
period. And um, those are my gold, silver, and bronze. And then I don't consider modern gaming any of those.
yeah, yeah,
Just like I listen to y'all describe everything, but y'all failed to recognize one game system which I loved, and that was the GameCube.
yeah. The cube
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
good, but
but that is right around that whole Dreamcast PS2.
yeah, but yeah, and I had the cube. I bought that with one of my first college refund checks. I went and bought, and I love the GameCube
Hmm.
Yep.
um, as well. It was just when if I close my eyes and I think about what we were talking about before, like memories, all those memories revolve around friends, and that was 360, OG Xbox, PS1, SOCOM. These are my fondest memories of gaming in that period. Like Wind Waker was fantastic, Metroid Prime was great, Resident Evil Remake fantastic, Rogue Squadron excellent. All those GameCube games were excellent. But
Twin Snakes.
if I go
Nope.
back to a memory, it is playing Halo 2 on OG Xbox in my first apartment with a living room full of people.
Well, and that's something we can definitely do an episode on. But remember,
Yeah,
the question you pose is what would be our personal.
Right. And then
I
So,
get
I
you.
let y'all
yeah,
say
yeah,
yours, and then
Yeah,
I
we got it.
yeah,
said mine.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Um, but like one of the things that like there's key things that change the path of gaming, and we'll have to get into that at another
yeah.
time.
that would be a
But
That'd
nice
be a good one.
episode. Yep.
That'd be a good
um,
one.
because DVD players, the birth of the internet,
Yeah.
with how that changed everything. But yeah,
Oh,
we'll
that'd
get
be a
into
good
it
one.
yeah, that'll be another episode we can get into.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, thank you for being here.
As
Yeah.
always.
Um,
Excellent.
Everyone, if you enjoyed this topic, let us know your thoughts and answers to the questions that we posed in this episode down in the comments below. Please give us a like if you want to see more content like this or any of the streams that I do on Monday and Thursday. Please subscribe. It helps the channel grow. It gets attention out there. And then yeah, we'll be back next week with another podcast episode and another topic with more guests. So
So
until then,
Yeah.
happy St. Patrick's Day to all the
Happy St.
Irish out
Patrick's
there.
Day.
yeah, happy late St. Patrick's Day for everyone by the time this
St.
goes out. But
Patty's. Yeah.
yeah, and we
Well,
St.
at least
Patty's.
they'll know when we recorded it.
Yeah,
well,
that's it. St.
true, true.
Patty's.
But yeah. All right, everyone. Until next time, have a great
Good
one.
night, everybody. Dust Vidania.
Peace out.